I'm in San Antonio this week, headlining San Antonio Startup Week. I have a packed schedule while I'm here, and I thought I'd bring my microphone on the road with me to show you a little bit about what I do behind the scenes. Now, you have seen me all over this country, and a lot of people don't realize that I travel so much. If you're new to the channel, my name is Arlan. 10 years ago, I was sleeping on the floor of the San Francisco airport. Today, I have invested in more than 200 companies, and I have raised more than $30 million and generated millions of dollars. And I want to help 1,000 people become millionaires over the next decade. I'm so excited to be in San Antonio today and this week because it is a thriving city. We usually talk about Austin, which is just an hour or so away, but San Antonio has an amazing entrepreneurial hub and investor community. So I'm here to meet with both.
Let's kick off this week with an incredible fireside chat featuring the one and only Arlan Hamilton. Come on up.
Will you tell me why you're most excited to be here today and what coming back to Texas in this capacity feels like just today?
Sure. I mean, I grew up in Dallas, came over to San Antonio a few times working on live music events in a former life, but I haven't been here in years. And I was very excited to hear about the burgeoning tech scene. So I'm here to learn, I'm here to look around, see what everybody's up to, and there's always a soft spot for Texas in my heart, regardless of what we're going through in Texas on any given day. But there's always that because there's just so much innovation. In fact, I'll do a little name dropping, but I do have a joint venture with Mark Cuban. And one of the things that he and I have talked about a lot is how do we pour more back into Texas? Very interested when Texas comes up. So it's just something that's pretty much top of mind no matter what I'm working on. I do live in California now. I thought I'd go to the place that was most like Texas to me.
Will you tell me about your journey in whatever detail you want to go into?
In addition to loving Texas, I've also been pretty broke in Texas.
Yes. Raise your hand if you've been broke in Texas.
Yeah. That's a new country song. We got our new...
There we go.
I'm broke in Texas.
That's a good one.
Actually, I'm going to write that while we're talking. Experienced housing insecurity, food insecurity, off and on, and in different ways. And I mean, I think I've written 2 books. I think there's an entire book left that is about the systemic issues that led to that. So I experienced that growing up, and then experienced that as a young adult and an adult, and had always been, though, very eclectic in my tastes and in my interests, and very much so dancing to the beat of my own drum, and had figured out just by mainly watching certain people have like stickers on their laptop on TV or talking about it and listening in on conversations, that there was this place called Silicon Valley, and that in Silicon Valley you had these 2 and 3 person teams that were out of garages, and I said, I wish I had a garage. That'd be great.
Right? That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Yeah, so but I thought, this is how I feel. I always felt like the most risk-tolerant person around me. Yeah. And I always was a little bummed that I didn't have insurance, and I didn't feel like I was adulting right. I felt like, I'm not doing this correctly. I'm 43, I'll be 44 later this month, but I remember when I was 32-ish, my mom's going to check my math in a second. But I remember thinking, my mom had a baby by this time, and I don't feel like that adult kind of thing, right? But at the same time, I knew that there was something on the horizon for me. There was never one doubt in my mind. It was always inevitable. But I was like, when is it going to happen? I'm a late bloomer. It got worse and worse and worse on the poverty side. But my dreams got bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I kept walking towards them. And then finally, when I thought, let me try to raise $1 million for a company. Because I just thought, like, the way my mind works is like, that doesn't seem crazy to me, even though I'm on food stamps. It just doesn't seem crazy. So, but I thought, let me do that. And I'll just learn everything I need to, and I'll walk into those rooms and I'll get that money. And while I was learning about startups, that's when I found out that less than 10% of all venture funding and all angel funding goes to women, people of color, LGBTQ+, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in a country where white men, straight white men, make up about 1/3 of the country. So I started having these conversations with straight white men who were in tech and who were in, some form, like in finance. And I said, does this make sense to you? They thought it didn't make sense. They said that those numbers don't match. And then there were some people who were like, who wouldn't take the call, right? But the ones who did take the call, they were flabbergasted by the fact that this was the case. So it took me years from the time I found that out and the time I decided, instead of raising $1 million for my company, I'm going to try to raise $1 million to invest in companies. Yeah. It took years to get my first yes and investment from Susan Kimberlin. Once I got that first investment, I never stopped. I never looked back.
She still hasn't stopped, y'all.
Yeah, I haven't stopped. So that million turned into 30. Over time, it's still an uphill battle. Thank you. It's still an uphill battle. But it was, a lot of people think that it was just like, oh, you have 30 million. It was like $25,000 at a time. And it was for every yes, there were multiple no's. So those numbers got higher and higher over time. And then Cuban came in of that 30. I asked him why he did it. And he said, you're in rooms I'll never be in. And I thought that was really interesting. And I think we can all take that away. Like, I was broke. I was not so broke, but, coming out of that when I took that money, and we've invested it in multiple great companies, with Mark and with Susan Kimberlin, who was the first yes, the first investment, and with Mark Andreessen and Stuart Butterfield, who started Slack, and Chris Sacca, who invested in Uber, and all. Every single time I got a yes from them, it proved to me over and over again that we have value worth more than money, or at the very least, the exchange of it. Like our intellect, what we're willing to learn, how we're willing to level up every day, that's such a valuable thing. And I call it becoming money. Mm-hmm. Because money attracts money. What do you do if you don't have it? You become it.
So what does that feel like, Arlan, to be a trailblazer, to have had the audacity to, like you say, not always, you don't need to be humble, and be up here to brag and say, I did this. Yeah. How does it feel?
Let's not be humble today. Today, we're not going to be humble. I mean, everybody, we're not going to be humble. We spend a lot of time being humble. I don't. And Kamala talked about that recently. Mm-hmm. I've been saying it for years. And I think it's so true. How many people here have ever worked with someone and you're like, how did they get that job? How did they get there? I have just been in rooms with people who are very powerful and very rich. And I can run laps around them. And my friends can run laps around them if they were there too. I've not met, and I'll be very specific here. I've not met a white man who is smart. Like, the smartest white man is not smarter than the smartest black woman I've met. It just doesn't exist. It's just not true. And I think there's so much ingrained white supremacy. There's so much that negatively affects white people too. And I think Black and Latinx people, we perpetuate that too. I'll give you a quick example. You get on a plane and there's a black pilot. You think about it. No matter who you are, you think about it. I don't know, I can't put myself in the minds of someone else, but you think about as someone was saying, there's like this training, like do they have enough training? And the fact is, to get in that position, if they're a black pilot, not only do they have enough training, they probably have more training than the person next to them because they had to jump so many hoops to get into that position. Right? But the first thing you think is, oh, are they prepared? And that's the nice version of what you might think. And so because I don't have imposter syndrome, and because I feel like, I've always felt this, by the way. I've always felt that I'm equal. We're equal. I'm not worse than you, and I'm not better than you. Right. Because of that, and because I want so many people to win, I want us all to win and have that, chance to win. I go into situations, negotiations, I go into transactions very, very confident. It's also okay to lose and to lose in public and to fail in public. I definitely have the ability to fail in public. I've done it multiple times, and I'll probably do it so many more times. But when you have that mindset of, if I fail in public, I'll still live to see another day, it actually gives you so much freedom, and it actually boosts your confidence and adds to things, because most of us are afraid of being embarrassed. It's like a natural thing. Mm-hmm. So it's actually how I got over stage fright.
When we think about failure, which has such a negative connotation, but there's so much on the other side of failure. In those moments, especially the first ones, what does support look like to you?
One of the things, I want to make sure people understand, and this is why I said it so much in my book, my first book, It's About Damn Time, is that while we didn't have much money, we had so much love and support. And we have, every family has their own way of expressing that. And so we weren't very touchy-feely and, talking about it all the time. But we just show up, and we do to this day. We just show up for each other. And I'm really proud of my brother. He turns 40 this year, which I don't understand how that's possible at all. But I'm very proud of him and his media company, and how well he's doing on YouTube. And my mom, I dedicated several chapters to my book about her, So she was with me when we both slept in a car in order for me to attend South by, and not attend it, I didn't have a ticket, but to be around South by. We slept in a cold rental car because we could not afford anything else, so that I could potentially maybe meet someone who might invest in Backstage Capital when it didn't exist yet. Right?
Now just sit with that for a second, please. So, if you ask my mom if the sky is blue, she will let you know that she has been to Greece and I have not. She will since then, and she'll let you know she's been to the Kentucky Derby and I have not since then. And we ride, because if she was with me in the cold car, she's going to be with me at the Four Seasons. Yes, she is. Can we talk about those pathways that may look different than just venture, and what that can mean for anyone in this room today, not just founders?
Because of the work I do, obviously, I think that venture capital has its place.
Always.
But my journey has been more about giving us the option. While I don't think every company should take venture capital or needs to take it, I want them to have the option. We need to have the representation and the ability to say yes and no to that option. So I still think it's ridiculous that the numbers are so low. And I'll still fight to change those numbers for as long as it takes until those numbers are changed. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, I know so many people, including myself, who've had a lot more success not chasing venture dollars and going out and chasing customer dollars. Mm-hmm. And you may make less. There may be less of a transactional thing happening by volume of dollars, but you have more ownership at the end of the day. And if you can do that math real quickly in your head, owning more, you can own more of something that's worth less and actually make more money at the end of the day than someone who has $1 billion company. And I mean that $1 billion company. There's so many stories of founders who finally get to that end, whatever that end is supposed to be, where they have an exit. They've taken on venture capital, but they've taken on rounds and rounds and tens of millions, if not more, of dollars. And they're left with very little. And it's, I'm sure, an incredibly fulfilling experience to have built something like that and to have put that imprint on the world. But there's a reason that a lot of your faves, a lot of people who are well known don't have a lot of liquid capital, and they're in that rat race. So I love talking to entrepreneurs about how do you generate revenue, and how do you do that in a way that is every single year is a little bit more profit margin. That's exciting to me. But the ultimate way to have generational wealth is to have ownership. Best way to sum it up is that even I have a venture catalyst shirt on, right? I don't think of myself as I have to be a venture capitalist and that kind of defines me. Right. It's not really important to me. I think it's important to champion entrepreneurship. That's the part I care about. And these are different vehicles that I'm driving to get us to different destinations.
What would be the best way for upcoming entrepreneurs to reach out to venture capitalists? How do you even approach a venture capitalist?
Before you approach one, please really know that you need to approach one, because all the stuff I said earlier about maybe you don't need to approach one. And because venture capitalists, for the most part, are not looking for you, it puts you in such this position. But if instead you work on your company and you get it to a place where it's like generating either buzz or money or both, then people will start coming to you. You become the billboard of your success. And I think that's the better play. So I would start with the funds that are looking for you, right? And you want to work with a partner who cares about you and who sees you and who's looking for you. It's their job also to have discretion and to really look at your company. But I would start there. You can search Google and you can search YouTube, and especially YouTube, to find the group that you want to be associated with. And then once you find the group that you want to be associated with, then you can reach out to them. So you go to the people who are looking for you first. You take their information, their feedback, their help, their resources, and you say, okay, what can make me better? And what are people looking for? And what do I need to do? What's really happening in those rooms? You take that and you say, will you come with me when I go to those rooms? Then go to those rooms and ask them to help open doors for you. And give as much as you ask for somebody else to do for you. Then you get into those rooms. Because if I said to you, what most people want when they ask that question is for me to say, what do you do? Okay, let me tell you, this is the fund you go to, and this is the person's name, and this is their email address. If I did that, when you knocked on that door, they would not either see you, or respond. Because they're not looking for you. So you have to make yourself undeniable. You have to make yourself the asset that they're looking for all of a sudden, right? So I think about people like Solo Funds and Squire. These are people who have raised like tens of millions of dollars, Slutty Vegan.
And all the work that you've done over the last 10 years in creating that path of change. Can you give us something that has really showcased that the work that you're doing has just been impactful, and it's going to continue to propel you to do the work for so many?
There's so many highlights. Thank you for asking that question and posing it that way. Yes, it happens all the time, and big and small. So I'll give you a big example that happened like 2 days ago. There was a company that we invested in 7 years ago when we had very little money. We'd raised very little money, but we were out there. This company has a brilliant founder, and I knew very early on that I was going to invest. We have been working with that founder for all 7 years, like almost nonstop. There's probably 500 text messages between us. Just every other week, it's just helping. And we even needed to like walk them in. I was talking here, we even walked them into these big multi-billion-dollar funds because we were so impressed with them. And they got some investment from them, which was pretty cool. So they were already like showcasing our work. But we put $25,000 into this company 7 years ago. And then we came back and put a lot more later. Over the past year, I have been helping them with a project. And again, we'll be able to announce this in about a month. I found out on Friday that this project they actually got, and it's worth almost $20 million. Woo! And yes. And not only that, because that's money, that's awesome, cool. The work that they're doing is going to impact millions of people. And they probably wouldn't be able to do it if they didn't have what they just got. In the text message, the founder said to me, without your $25,000, not even the more money we gave them more recently, without your $25,000, we're not here and this didn't happen. And I sent it around to a couple of people and I said, this is why we do what we do, because we were having some tough times about something. I said, this is why we're doing what we're doing. So we went into the weekend like, okay, that was a tough Friday, but this is what it's about. And this is a Black male founder who often was mistaken for the help in meetings. This is a Black male founder who often hid because of that. So that's just one example. It's not just one thing. It spans so many industries and verticals. And I always say that when you're investing in Black and brown founders and women founders, you're investing in healthcare, you're investing in the new banking systems, new financial systems. You're investing in so many things beyond, oh, that founder is Black. There's just so much untapped potential and unseen, not only potential, but actually happening. It's happening now.
I had an incredible fireside earlier. It was so good, and I felt really at home here in San Antonio. I was raised in Dallas, Texas, so Texas feels like home to me, even though I live in Los Angeles. So you can see I'm wearing my Venture Catalyst t-shirt. I wear it on stage a lot when I'm speaking because I want people to have that in their minds when they're thinking about me. If you're interested, you can get this shirt at arlanwashere.com while they're still available. I had them at Your First Million Live, and now they're available online.